Okay, quick little video on Heroes of the Nam, or the Nam, depending on where we're from. Vietnam, lock and load tactical system. Interesting scenario. It comes from the Pledge of Honor expansion, I believe it is. This is the cover for it right here. Oops, you can see there we go. So I'm not 100% certain. I think this is a scenario by Devin Heinlein. One of Devin's scenarios. So we'll see how it goes. And fairly large 4-mapper, and we're on the X maps, so they're big hexes and all the rest of it. It's a pretty significant force of the North Vietnamese army, sort of pressing up. It's got an interesting set of victory conditions, which were at first a little odd. I was a little confused about how to actually play it, and the setup organization is there's a little bit of conflicting data as well. It says U.S. Army sets up first, but then on sets up first anywhere on map 5 within certain hex row limitations. And I've just realized I've got some units in the wrong spot. In fact, I have a handful of units in the wrong spot, so we're going to have to rejig some of that action. I'll do that right now. Got a little excited about the map 5 stuff. So then it says the MVA sets up first on map 4. Confusing. Nevertheless, I wanted to look at the tactics here, perhaps for both sides, and see what each side could or should do given the victory conditions. Now, the victory conditions are straight up VPs for squads killed, half squads killed, leaders and heroes, weapons teams, helos. There's some helos there's 2 helos that arrive partway through the scenario in this 10-turn scenario. But the VC player will also receive 5 VPs if there are no units, no US units on this map 1. And obviously the US player will receive 5 VPs if there are units on that map. So, interesting. That seems to be one of the key criteria for the game. The other is just kill bad guys, right? Let's have a quick look at the Vietnamese forces. So, a bunch of 144s, and they have the assault movement capability. That seemed to make sense to me. It wasn't clear on the instructions. Then the other guys, 143s, there's 12 of those, and a bunch of RPD guns and a couple of your weapons platforms here. So we've got 12 mil, etc. And trying to set them up so that they can be a defensive force, or if the Americans don't advance, then they can come sweeping in through map 1 here. We've already opened up the scenario with opening activation by these units that have the assault move capability. They started here on the map, and they can get quite a ways, with 4 movement points, or with 6 moving with the leader, and I've got 2 leaders here. I'll just show you those guys right there, right? So they actually got a lot further than I thought, and my original intention for them was just pretty much to sit back and see what the Americans did, and then advance and attack, because I've got this assault move capability here, which allows me to move and fire on the same turn, even though it does suffer a DRM, negative DRM. So I've got to reorganize these guys now. I had originally intended on moving these pretty aggressively through the jungle and trying to flank and come at those guys before I saw how they set up. And then I set these guys too far forward, so I need to pull them back behind this H on or behind this H line here. They need to be back in this quadrant. So it looks to me like this force is entering the map basically, and it's some sort of meeting engagement that is going to get ugly. Now the side benefit for for the Allies, for the North Americans, is every turn they roll a d6 and they receive some sort of weapons support from the riverine platforms that are off map, right? So you might get some machine gun fire, you might get mortar fire, etc., and it's deemed to have line of sight as long as these guys have line of sight, right? So that's a good thing. So that's some extra firepower every turn. Secondarily, on turn 3, they receive 2 gunships, so we'll get those in the action. And then on turn 6, remember I said it's 10 turns, they receive a stack of, how many guys is that? 6 more squads, which may be able to reinforce a push or reinforce the kill ratio that is about to go down. So it's an I'm not sure how this will play out, because it's a pretty soft VP amount. 5 VPs. Do I want to sit back and try and take cover and fire at range and let the Vietnamese come at me across the open to pick up VPs and kill enough to compensate for the five victory points for not being here that they will get? Don't know. So we're going to have to play that by ear and see what happens, and see how it all sort of pans out. All right, let's go roll some dice. Talk to you soon.